Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy, the dope ass dude, and I am so very excited about being here on tonight. I am ready for tonight's conversation with our guest because he is a phenomenal guy and he has a story that I know is going to be so inspiring to each of you. So I am really excited about having him on tonight. So, just a couple of things before we get started here. You already know, you know if you don't mind, stop right now, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then while you are there subscribing to the channel, please click on the notification button so you can be notified anytime there is a new episode uploaded to the YouTube channel. And then if you're not following me on TikTok and Instagram, please go out and follow me on both. The Dope Ass Dude podcast on both of those. And lastly, if you're on the go and you don't have time to sit down and look at the podcast on YouTube, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. So you can find the podcast out there. So yeah, if you uh on the go, you can always get us. So tonight I'm really excited about having our guest on. This guy, I followed him for some time on Instagram, and he posts some of the most amazing pictures, and you can just feel his energy through his page. He's very inspiring, and he is intentional about living his life to the fullest. So I'm really excited about having him here. He's a father, he's a minister, and he's a new resident of Texas. He's been here for a couple of years now, but we'll go ahead and welcome him on in. But I'm really excited to have him here on the show tonight, and we're going to go ahead and bring him on out. Patrick, what's up, man?
Mr. Dope Ass Dude, how you doing, man?
I'm amazing. How are you, dude?
I'm great. I'm great.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Well, first of all, a little correction. I've been in Texas since 2009. So I'm one of the original Californians that moved here. You know, back when you had to learn how to be a Texan was when I moved here in 2009. But I'm originally from California, born and bred in the LA area, little town called Duarte, California. Is where I went to school, went to USC for college, didn't finish, dropped out. Actually, they kicked me out, but got into management and started my career, and the rest is history. I actually moved to Texas in 2009 with a job transfer, and I loved it so much I decided to stay.
Wow. And
Yeah.
he calls himself one of the original Californians that moved here. See, he's still attached to California. True Texans, we are just Texas. We're just Texas. But we're gonna let you come on in, man. You've been
Hey, well,
here.
listen to this. I bought my first cowboy hat this year, so it
Oh
took
wow.
me what is that? 14 years to buy me a cowboy hat. Maybe one of these days I'll get some boots too.
Well, dude, you're doing better than me because I don't have a hat or boots. So you're doing better than me. Have you been to the Forward Stockyard? Have you been there?
I have. I actually had season tickets last year to
Oh
the
wow.
the rodeo. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody says it's like so cool to go to. I haven't been there, myself either. So,
All I can say is Bulls Night Out. That's the night you want to go when the Bulls are riding.
oh wow.
Yeah.
Now, is that just one time or
I
is
think
it?
I actually think they have two dedicated nights that are 100% bull rides. But other than that, I enjoy the cowboy shows and the guys doing the lassos on the back of the horses and all that. But my favorite is to see those wild bulls coming out, man. Well, I'm a
Wow,
tourist, so go figure.
wow. So, Patrick, like I said, I followed you on Instagram for a while, man, and I look at your page, and it is, like I said, it's super inspiring, and you can just feel your energy through the page. And I know that you are big on intentional living, so let's talk about that. Let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit. So how did you get to that mindset? Because that's really kind of like what it is. You got to get your mind there, make a commitment to do that. So how do you do that each and every day?
You know what, man? For me, first of all, I made a lot of mistakes. You know, a lot of mistakes throughout my life. I have not lived a perfect life. I am probably the poster boy for the dude with the most mistakes, you know. But you know what? A few years ago, I was in California visiting my family and went to see my grandmother. In fact, it was Mother's Day. And my grandmother said, when are you going to start using all that talent God gave you for good? And those words resonated with me so deeply that at that moment, I could sense a change in my life. And you know, slowly but surely, I started to unpack the layers, deal with my issues, and now, you know, thank God because of His grace and His mercy and His unmerited favor. You know, I'm on top. But you know, I always tell anybody if it's any good in me, it's not because of me; it's because of the grace of God in my life.
Yeah. Now, so let me ask you this here, because that is one thing I think that is a little bit scary for a lot of people. And that is like getting to a place where you deal with you.
Yeah,
You know, most times we jump from job to job or relationship to relationship because it distracts us from dealing with the real problems sometimes, because
yeah,
sometimes we are our own in of me,
yeah.
you know. So how did you get there? And was it scary for you to start doing that?
You know what? You know, you really don't know what you're gonna find when you really start dealing with yourself. I think, to your point, it's easy for people to focus on other things, especially other people, mistakes and problems that other people, offenses that other people have made towards you, than to focus on, like you said, the in me, what's in you, what you are doing, and what you know. You I don't know that we ever really fully unpack everything. However, you get to a point where you start realizing it's not really about the past; it's about the present and the future. I tell people that all the time. You know, I have an ex girlfriend that hit me up a few months back, and you know, she was extremely apologetic for some of the things that she said to me or whatever she was apologizing for, and I stopped her dead in her tracks. I'm like, you know what? You don't apologies are not necessary. We have right now and we have the future. So let's just focus on that. And you know, that's what I believe is propelling me to that intentional living going forward. Is you know trying to make good decisions today. I can't do anything about the mistakes that I made in my past. You know, there was a period of time during that unraveling process that I tried to make as many amends as I possibly could. I tried
Yeah.
to pay off all the people I owed money to, not least of which my grandmother. All the money that I owed her, all the money that I owed others, you know, money you borrow and forget to pay back, you know. I did all that. I tried to make as many amends. In fact, I called some of my exes and apologized to them because I realized the level of hurt that I caused in their lives, you know. But it was just a season that I was in of making amends. But, you know, you can't do nothing about the past. You can't change the past. All you can do is make good, sound decisions um, right now, today, and going forward.
Right. And I love how you say you can't do anything about the past, because I think that is something that a lot of us, we try to correct the past, you know, and you said it's about the present and the future. And you're right, you cannot go back and correct the past. You just have to get to a place where you forgive yourself for the past, you
Yeah,
know, extend grace to yourself, and then also forgive people who have hurt you in the past, because a lot of people still holding on to past things that have happened to them,
yeah,
and they're waiting for someone to apologize. An apology is not going to always come. So you have to come to a place where you just say, "Hey, I'm good.
yeah.
I'm just good. I don't need apology." Forgive yourself for even allow them to do whatever they did to you, and just keep it moving.
Well, you know, John Patrick, you mentioned something about forgiving yourself. Through therapy, I actually went through several uh, bouts of therapy. But through therapy, I learned that healing is not a linear process. That's true when you are dealing with, you know, acute hurt and pain that you're trying to get over. But it's also true as you're going through the process of, you know, building a better life for yourself. You know, you have good days and you have bad days. So that's why healing doesn't go like this. It's not a linear process. It goes like this. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, then you might have another bad day, and then you're going to have a good day. You got to give yourself the ability and the freedom and the flexibility to be human. There are going to be some days, thoughts come up in your mind about things you did in your past. What I found is that you just have to keep moving forward. And sometimes moving forward is just one step at a time.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. I love that. And then, and you probably know this as well, Patrick. So many times we are our worst, critic, our worst person, because we beat up on ourselves most times because we think, oh, I'm 40 or I'm 35 and I should have outgrown this and I should be able to just accept this and move on. And yeah, wow.
It's natural to think that way, I think, because, naturally we work with other people. We are communal and relational people. So you see people that, I wouldn't use the word envy, but I admire my friends who have made good decisions, who have, beautiful families, who have one wife, whom they've had all of their children with, and who have gone through and completed their education, gotten their master's and their doctorate degrees. I have friends at the millionaire level, and I truly admire them. And sometimes when we compare ourselves with people, we get into those ruts where we tend to look at where we are and think, we're not good enough, or that we wish we would have accomplished more. But I think, really, honestly, God reminds me how extraordinary He made me. And the one thing that I can tell you, which has been most helpful in my journey, is realizing I like me. I like me, and I
Yeah.
don't have to be different. I don't have to, I'm not perfect, but I like me. God uniquely equipped me and gave me the personality, the tools to influence others, to use the good, to be humble, to look out for my family, my children, my, people that are within my purview. And I appreciate that. So God reminds me all the time, I may not be a guy with the doctorate degree, and all of that, but I'm an extraordinary man, and I accept that part too.
Yeah, yeah. And the danger in, I'm glad you mentioned the comparison, because the danger in comparing is you are comparing your reality to your perception of someone.
Yeah,
Because we never know what people are doing to have what they have. We never know what they're doing to keep what they have. And we don't even know the hell that they are going through each and every day mentally, just within themselves. So it is always best to just find happiness and peace within you and your own skin and what you have, because
absolutely,
you're better off than a lot of people. It's someone else looking at you like, dang, I wish I had what they had. And then you're looking, yeah, you got to just be grateful for what you have.
absolutely.
Wow, wow, wow. So it seems as though your circle of friends is pretty wide. I mean, you have some really fascinating people.
That is not true. I actually have a very small circle of
But
friends.
they good people though, right?
Oh yeah, they're excellent people.
Yeah.
They're excellent people, but very small circle.
Okay,
I'm,
cool,
I'm,
cool.
I'm kind of an introvert, man. I don't. I enjoy people, and people argue with me about whether I'm an introvert all the time. They argue and tell me that I'm not an introvert, but I am an introvert because what gives me energy is the solitude and the peace of being in my own space in an environment that I can control and rebuild my energy in. So, but I enjoy people. I have great friends. I have an awesome family, and a great support system as well. So,
That is awesome. That is awesome. So let's get into fatherhood. And I
uh,
know that was something that you said that we could talk about
yeah,
on the
absolutely.
podcast. So the
Yeah,
complications of fatherhood, and I'm just
sure.
using your words on that. So let's talk
Yes.
about that. Why do you describe it as complications?
Well, when you have 5 kids and 4 baby mamas like me, it's complicated. And I'm really happy that I'm at a point in my life where I embrace that, because I was listening to one of your previous podcasts. I think it was the one where you had all the guys on and you were talking about, you mentioned at what point do you tell someone that you have kids, and I was listening to the answers, and a couple of them I kind of chuckled at because it reminded me of a period of time in my life where I would date and I would tell people that I had one daughter, and then that was just really a way to protect myself from rejection. Um, and also, honestly, I feel like a guy that lies to a woman about how many kids he has is really only after one thing. I'm not gonna say I was only after one thing, but I'm just saying, until I really was sure that I liked someone, I wouldn't be completely upfront with them about that. I think one of the questions, if I recall correctly, again was about when do you disclose that? And naturally, women are inquisitive, so they ask questions. So I think as soon as I don't think you have to like, hey, these are all my issues. I got 5 kids type thing, but you when you have to be honest and you have to embrace your reality. So for me, fatherhood is complicated because I have 5 kids and 4 baby mamas. And I love my children, my family. I see my aunt in the comments will tell you that I've tried to the best of my ability to be a great father. It hasn't always been an ideal situation because I left my 3 daughters in California when I left there in 2003 and moved to another state, and I haven't been back since. So it was never easy for me. I think people perceived that it was because I was living in another state, living the single life at that time, and had kids in another state, and people make perceptional judgments based on what they see, but what they don't know is every single time I would go home. I remember my little girls were in school, and I would visit them at their schools, usually right before I would get on the plane to come home. And man, I would leave that school and pull around the corner and literally pull on over to the side of the road and break down crying because it's never been easy to leave my girls. We were talking before, my youngest daughter's in Chicago, and it's never easy. It that feeling. Now I don't break down as much anymore, unfortunately, because the sting of it kind of goes away over time. But it's never easy to be without my daughters. You asked me how often I'm able to go up to Chicago and see her, and the fact is it's never enough.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's complicated. But yeah, so
And that's the side, and I'm so appreciative of your transparency about like how you say you would drive around the corner and break down, because that's the side of the story we never really get from fathers, whether it is a woman telling her viewpoint of a father, or sometimes fathers just not feeling in a safe space to be that vulnerable to say, hey, I broke down because I was leaving behind my girls. Wow,
yeah,
that's really good, man.
yeah.
That,
I
that
still
is.
feel that way, honestly. They're in their 20s, and my youngest is 12, and it's still not easy. When I'm around them, I smother them with affection and love as much as I can because I got to make up for lost times. My daughters are in their 20s, and they can't stand when they see me and I grab them and I'm smushing my face into their cheeks, and I'm like, I don't care how old you get, you are my baby. You know what I'm saying? So it's still not easy, but again, you can't. The other lesson one of the other things that I live by is uh, I can't do anything about things that I can't control. I can't control the fact that I'm not physically able to be where my children are as often as I would like to be. How often would I like to be? Every single day. I would love to have in fact, I've implored them and compelled them, please move to Texas. Them California girls, they don't like Texas. My youngest daughter, she don't like Texas. She said, Dad's too hot in Texas. Of course, living in Chicago, she feels that way. So it's never enough, but you can't do anything about what you can't control. But what you can do is the best with what you have. And that's what I try to do as a father. I try to be there for them. I try to, my one daughter, I tease her because, I call her the Cash App princess. She used to send me this long drawn out explanation. Daddy, I need money for this, and get this. I promise this is the last time I'm ever gonna ask you for money, and I'll pay you back. Of course, she knows I never let them pay me back. You know what I'm saying? So I get the cash every now. It's just I don't even get an explanation. I just get the request. I just get the request. So yeah, you
Wow.
got to do the best with what you have.
So let me ask you this here: four baby mamas there. So, like, how did that work? Your relationships with your children's moms, because a lot of times men will hide behind the excuse of, well, my relationship is not good with the mom, so that's why I don't get a chance to see my kids. But it seems like, I mean, you're very active in your kids' lives. With considering that you live here in Texas or whatever. How did you not allow that to impact your relationship with your kids?
Well, again, it's complicated. When you have a situation like mine and you have multiple women that you have children with, it is never an easy situation because sometimes one may feel that you're giving one another more attention than one. You know what I'm saying? What boggles my mind is how anybody could feel that way when like I look at my love, the depth of my love for my children, and think, how could you even make a comparison? Because I honestly love them all the same. Now, my baby girl is my baby girl. Everybody says, oh, Macy's your favorite. That's my baby girl's name. Her name is Macy. Macy's your favorite. Macy's not my favorite. She's just my baby. She's the closest thing to a baby that I got. But to be honest with you, and in full transparency, it hasn't always been easy. My first wife, whose name I won't say on here, I have to, as many struggles as we went through together or between the two of us, I have to give her kudos because I am so thankful in her intentionality in keeping my two daughters that we had together connected to me and connected to my family. And she never allowed anything, literally never allowed anything to keep me away from my kids or keep my kids out of my life. So some of the others, not so much. But, again, honestly, man, I just look at it like this. I do what I can. What I can't control is not within, you can't really stress over it. And again, with the situation that I have, it sometimes can be very complicated.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, kudos to you, man, because you didn't let it keep you from being a father to your kids.
Absolutely.
So that is commendable alone right there. So that's good, man. So let me ask you this here. So how does that impact your dating life? We're talking about finding love in your 40s. I'm in my 50s, so you in your 40s. So, like, let's talk about that. Yeah. In your 40s, like a lot of times women think it's easier for men to date in their 40s and their, older age. They think it's easier for men to date. But I mean, do you find any struggles with dating? Or are there
Sure.
any you want to talk about it?
Hold on, let's have a word of prayer. Father God, in the name of Jesus. Yeah, struggling with dating. Honestly, it's not hard to date.
Yeah.
It's not hard. It's easy to date, especially with the the dating apps. You meet a lot of people, a lot of people. What's hard is finding someone at this age that you can settle down with, that you can merge your life with. I agree. I think it is easier, just from my perspective. It is easier, I think, for men in their 40s and men with children to date than it is women. Luckily for me, most of my kids are at an age where even if I'm with someone, they don't have to. It's not like we gotta. When I was younger and I was remarried to my youngest daughter's mother, where I had to fly my kids to where I was and, make accommodations for them and include them in family trips and things like that. Now they're older and they're doing their own thing, so it's not as difficult for me now because my kids are older. And even my youngest daughter, she ain't got the time of day for me in the world. She has her own life. She has two younger siblings with her mother, and so it's a lot. It's not daddy's world anymore. In fact, she gets tired of me reminding her, because I have to remind her when she acts like she doesn't have time for me. The first night you were born, you slept on my chest. Your last name is White. you know, um, but it honestly, at this stage, I don't feel like it's a barrier at all to to me dating. In fact, if I tell someone that I have 5 kids, a lot of times, when you meet people on these online dating apps, you go through the 21 questions. The one that comes up pretty quickly with a lot of women is, do you have kids? And I say yes, and they say how many and how many baby mamas. That usually follows right after. So when someone unmatches with me on a dating app because of the answer to that question, I used to be disappointed. I used to try to prevent that from happening by not being upfront and honest. But honestly, man, now I'm thankful because that's a part of who I am. My kids are a part of my life, and just like a woman with kids, if they're dating a man that can't truly love their kids, and I've been both a stepfather and obviously a father, and I feel like I was an outstanding stepfather as well. Um, but if someone can't love and embrace your children, they ain't the person for you. That you know that is just a part of the package. So, but again, it's not easy. So that's not as much of an issue. But there's so many other things that make dating in your 40s complicated.
Let's talk about it.
So many of these women are, career driven, and uh, you know, I'm a real man. You know, I'm a I'm not. I would never label myself as an alpha man because I believe I'm humble and I'm flexible, and I'm not convinced that it's my way or the highway or anything like that. Um, but I am a real man.
Okay,
So
so what does real man mean?
you try to get
Because
me in
I
trouble.
know they're thinking it. I know they're out there thinking like he said he's a real man. So what does real man mean?
In my opinion, this is my opinion. These views do not reflect the views of the Dope Ass Dude podcast. Uh, in my opinion, a real man is a man that dates and can afford to date. Number one, I remember hearing on your when you had the guys on. I wanted to be on that so bad, but it seemed like y'all all knew each other. I really enjoyed that podcast. But one of the things I thought about, like how are you requiring a woman to put up money when you are just going out on a date? You know what I'm saying? If
So
you
you think the man should pay regardless to whether he asks or not? If she asks him out,
100%,
he should still pay.
100. Well, I don't know. I've not been in a situation where a young lady has asked me out.
Okay. Okay.
So not initially. Again, if I guess that probably is the laws of attraction, because if a woman is pursuing too much, I'm also not. It's a turnoff for me. Honestly, if she's, you know, I like to make the first move. I like to, be not necessarily in control, but I like to present myself in a way that a woman can respect me. And to me, if I show up at dinner and all of a sudden my credit card is lost and I don't have no cash and you got to pay, or I'm even looking at you like, are you going to split your hat? I've even gone on dates where I didn't enjoy the date. I wasn't attracted to the person and I still paid because that's just who I am as a man. I guess, being a father, having been married before, I just feel like there's just certain things that come with the territory. And I like to take care of me and mine. So if I can't afford to date, I'm not going to date.
Okay. So does it turn you off if you go on a date with a woman and she has the expectations for you to pay and she makes it known?
Absolutely not. Because
Okay.
I have those same expectations of myself. I don't go
Okay.
on a date where I expect anything other than to pay. Now, that's not to say that if a woman says, listen, I would prefer that we split the bill. If that's what she prefers, I'm probably gonna argue with her a little bit. But if she's pushing that issue and she wants to pay, or she wants to pay her half, it's not gonna be comfortable for me because that's just not the type of guy I am. But
Right.
I will acquiesce to that. But I've yet to be in a situation. For me, what happens is if I'm dating someone for some time, eventually they'll get to the point where they're like, okay, I'm taking care of the check. And I'm like, look, my rule is don't wait till the check comes out to tell me you're taking care of it. It's too late. It's too late. If you plan on treating me to dinner or to a date, you need to make that known before we show up. Because we're not sitting at the table in front of the waitress or waiter arguing about who's paying take care of the check. Give me the check. I'm taking care of it. Period.
Okay. Now, do you run into that problem though with women wanting to pay, and it's an issue when you pay?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Hell no.
I was just making sure. I was just making sure. So
No. That is
you
usually
going
not the
down,
problem.
real man. So
I
your
mean,
nickname is Real Man. We got a
yeah, put
thing
that
for
next to
you.
my name. Put that next to my name.
So yeah. So Yolanda says career driven women, a
I think
woman. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
that's probably my cousin. Anyway, I don't I love a woman who has her own mind and her own. Um, that I in fact I prefer a woman who has her own and doesn't need me for her sustenance or to pay her bills. Honestly, what turns me off is these women with these preconceived notions about what a man is going to do. I find whole women very attractive. So when I mean by whole woman, so I'll take that career driven women and put it aside for a second. When I say a whole woman, a woman that can take care of herself, that's very attractive to me. And honestly, ladies who are listening, when you have the right man, you don't have to beg him for anything. A good man is going to want to do for you, and not just ordinary. He's going to want to do the extraordinary. So I don't, I'm not the type of guy that I've been married before. I had my first wife was a very career driven woman. We have 2 kids together. In fact, she's a millionaire. My youngest daughter's mother was a stay at home mom. You know, I am open to being remarried again and having a stay at home mom as a wife or stay at home wife. But honestly, I want a woman that can add to my flow and add to my program. So I'm not intimidated by a career driven woman. I just want a woman that can accept a real man. I told you trying to get me in trouble, man.
No, I told you I just listen to what you say and I dive into it. So when you say it, I'm gonna ask it. So okay, so what else we got? So what are the things that turn you off when you're dating that makes it a little difficult with finding love? What else you got?
Um, Honestly, it's easier for me to talk about what turns me on. I'm
On?
yes,
Okay, let's go for it.
I'm attracted to femininity. You know what I'm saying? I like a woman that carries herself in a very feminine way. You know what I'm saying? I like not there's not a certain style of dress. There's not a certain thing. I have very strong women in my family, very successful women in my family. So don't mistake anything that I'm saying about femininity as weakness per se. I think that's the mistake and that's the travesty of today's society. Femininity and masculinity. Well, let me say this: femininity in women and masculinity in man are undervalued. And I want to say this too: masculinity is not synonymous with toxicity. You can be a masculine man and it not be toxic. I was raised by women. I was raised in I was raised in a household with my mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, my sister, my aunt, and my little cousin, who's also a woman. I was the only man in the house with 6 women. I had to open doors for them. You know what I'm saying? If I walked out the door first, I had to stand there and open the door till the last woman that was coming out came out. You know what I'm saying? I was raised by strong women. Um, and thank God, you know, I was lost for many years in insecurity and a lot of other things. But thank God I had found myself as a man. Unfortunately, I didn't have a father figure or a male role model to give me that sense of confidence as a man that I needed. I think I would have made a lot fewer mistakes if I had had a very strong, intentional man or male role model in my life. But thank God, through the grace of God, and honestly through the church, I was able to get around some men that I looked at that I could admire, that I could look
Yeah.
up to, and I found my manhood.
Yeah. So Patrick, go a little bit more into that feminine. And the reason I ask that is because a lot of times as men, we say that how can women tell us what masculine is and they're not a man? They don't understand that. So like break down what you believe. And he's not speaking. I think this is the thing too on a lot of shows. One man tries to speak for every man, and that's not every man's perception. That's not his belief, his thoughts, or whatever. So, what is like break down again, like go in depth what you believe femininity is.
I believe it's the natural energy that God has gifted women to have. When you look at true femininity, it is extremely powerful. And this is why we as men who date women have to be careful about attaching ourselves to the wrong woman because the feminine energy is very powerful. A man can connect with a woman whose feminine energy causes his entire life to go astray.
Mm-hmm.
I remember early when I was like 19, 20 years old, I was with this young lady that I met, and my nose was wide open, bro, and she exploited my, you know, the state of my mind at that time. I was just talking to a friend of mine a long time, actually an ex-girlfriend of mine from back in the day, and we was talking about it, and I was like, man, when I was with that person, I was a fool. Like I was made a fool of, like a public. Looking back at myself, I openly allowed that situation to make me look like a fool because I didn't realize what I looked like, you know. And that's the power of a woman. That's the power of femininity. The other power of femininity is when you unite with the right woman, she will multiply you as a man. The man brings the seed, the woman multiplies it. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking for a multiplier. So I'm not trying to skate around the question, but honestly, in a nutshell, I think the feminine energy is the natural energy that God gifts women with. And I think it should be celebrated. Um, and I think it should be applauded. But I think, you know, unfortunately, a lot of times some women use it the wrong way. Thankfully, there's many, many women that use it the right way, that are aware of their feminine energy and embrace it and love it. They love being a woman. I like being with a woman that loves being a woman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's sexy to me.
Yeah. And what else? What other turn ons for you?
we go because my mind went to something. I'm not.
When
Let's
you
just
said
leave it
let's
at
talk
that.
about
Let's
what
just
turns
leave
you
it at
on.
that. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah, you're not getting me in trouble.
I told you I'm following you, man. We talked about this before we came out. I'm following you. So okay. So let me ask you this here because this is another reverse question because
Okay.
women look for men like their fathers.
Hmm.
Okay, they look for men like their fathers,
I think that's
and
a general statement, but I hear what you're saying.
yeah. Okay, you know what I'm saying. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, some women, we'll say some, we'll put that in there. Some women look for men like their father. Now but they only know their dad as dad. their mother knows him as husband.
Mhm.
And their mom probably could say, I wouldn't marry him. He's not good material, because she knows him in a different way than the daughter does.
Mhm.
Do you find it that maybe and this is a great thing, do you think your mom, your grandmother, your sisters, do you think they molded your desires for that perfect woman? Do you think that they taught you what femininity is, and they gave you what you look for in a woman? And do you think, if they did give you what you look for a woman, do you think any woman could ever measure up to that?
Phew, that's a lot to unpack.
Show is. That's the
Um,
Dope Ass Dude podcast.
I would say my mom and the women in my family taught me a lot about certain types of women. I jokingly tell people, you know, maybe one of the reasons I'm single is because I have PTSD because of the women in my family. I have some very strong women in my family, and most of them are single. And so they take care of their own bills. They do their own thing. They don't need a man. They don't. Some of them don't want a man. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
um, they taught me certain things about uh, women, and I think there is something to the fact that men look for. Men are attracted to things in a woman's character that remind them of their mother, and vice versa for women. But honestly, man, I would say I probably look for don't if my mom is listening, please don't take this the wrong way. But my experiences with my mom, because my mom had me when she was 18, I don't fault her for, the mistakes she made when I was a kid that, you know, that traumatized me. My mom was not she was young, she was 18, you know what I'm saying? She was
Yeah.
trying to find herself. She didn't know how to be a mother. She was dealing with her own issues and dealing with men she was dating. And I've been young and a single dad, and I've had to deal with some of those issues myself. So I don't fault her for it, but it wasn't the ideal childhood. My mom, we have a great relationship now. In fact, we talked today. I told my mom I booked a vacation trip to California, and she called me immediately. We need to plan something. You know what I'm saying? So we have a great relationship now, but when I was younger, we did not have a good relationship. In fact, there were probably years went by that I didn't even speak to my mother. Um, but throughout those years, I always heard that still small voice in my head from God saying, honor your father and your mother. And I went through a season where I felt like, why do I gotta always be the one, striving to keep a relationship with my mother and my father? Um, but I honor God more than I honor anything. That's the most important thing. And I know when God is speaking to me. So I was able to push through those negative emotions and feelings that I had toward my mom so that we could have a relationship today. And my mom went through breast cancer. She had surgery. She had mastectomy and the whole 9 yards. So I think that definitely seeing my mom go through that definitely softened my heart as it relates to her. Because I was right there in the hospital when she was having surgery. I was there. I brought her home from the hospital when she had her surgery. So, but I think moreover, what shaped my um, ideal. There is no ideal woman, and I don't expect a woman to be perfect. But I think what has shaped um, my ideal woman is honestly a culmination of all of the great qualities of the women I've dated or been married to or interacted with throughout the years. People ask me, do you have a type? I don't. I don't have a type. Um, Feminine is my type. Now I have to be extraordinarily attracted to you. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's important. Attraction is very important to me. And I'm not attracted to just anybody. But in terms of the character of a woman, um, unfortunately, there's probably a lot more things that I'm not willing to compromise on for example, if a woman has kids and she's not a good mother, that's a no for me. I'm not going to date a woman that's not a good mother to her children. Um, if a woman is not able to pay her own bills, that's a definite turn off to me. I got 5 daughters. You know what I'm saying?
But
Like,
you're gonna pay the bills,
I, I'm
real man.
I'm gonna pay the bills. You're right. But I also need, again, somebody that can add to my program. I don't need a leech. You know what I'm saying? I just don't need that. So I need somebody, and she may not have all the money in the world, but she's got, yes, sex is important. Sex is very important. Amen. God, sex is very important. But it's a lot that you got to go through before you get to that point. Most of the time, sometimes sex is immediate, but usually you got to go through some things before you get to that point.
Okay.
Well,
So
I know my phone about to be lit when I get off this one.
and it's all you, because I'm just being quiet and following your lead. You can't say, "Oh, he led me into that." No. Okay. So what else? Is that all? Because we talked about a couple of your turn ons. Is there anything else that turns you on other than those things?
Turns me on. I like someone who is able to show their affection toward me. It's having, I would say, one of my obstacles in opening up to love someone is feeling vulnerable. I think a lot of men struggle with that. So when I know that I have someone in that loves me for me, it makes it a little easier. Still not easy, but makes it easier.
Yeah, and is that something you just know over time that they are a safe space for you,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, through time. I think a lot of times relationships, especially with online dating and such, we things move way too quick. You
right?
know, things move way too quick, and sometimes the energy guides that. But I think you can only get to that level of comfort and um, vulnerability over time. I just explained this to somebody. I don't remember who it was, but within the last day or so, um, I heard a podcast where someone was talking about relationships, and they said a relationship should be a race to the end of the line, meaning the other person is always putting the other person's need ahead of their own. That's difficult because there has to be, both people have to be doing that in order to create that balance. So ideally, what I'm looking for is somebody I don't mind racing to the end of the line for. I'm putting their needs ahead of mine, and I feel like they're doing the same thing. You can only establish that with time.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. So let's get to our final thing, man. We have like time has really flown here. I know you said, and I don't want to quote you on this here, but I think it said a non-religious minister.
Oh Lord, here comes the thing's about to. Hold on, okay. Here we go. Yeah. So I am an ordained elder in a religious denomination that I will not name, but it is Pentecostal. Um, However, I do not subscribe to all the religious rules of church folks because I have studied the Bible from cover to cover, and most of the stuff we do in church ain't even in the Bible.
Correct.
Um, it has taken me much trial and error to get to the point with religion, with established religion, where I feel comfortable being who I am and letting the saints be who they are. Um, but yeah, I don't. I'm not. When I meet people and I explain, my religious beliefs, I am a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in the Bible. Um, but I just don't. I'm not your normal Christian. I'm not your normal minister. There's a video on my Instagram. I have a very religious aunt who lives in Ohio, and we had a Christmas party, my family, at my cousin's house, and there's a video that my aunt recorded. I'm freaking on my aunt. My long dress wearing, aunt who ain't about nobody but Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just who I am. Like I feel like my role in life is to help others loosen up and have fun and enjoy life. Whether other people do it or not, I fully intend to. So as a minister, I take trips to Miami and I turn up. Now I'm not at the clubs. I'm not at the strip clubs. That's what Atlanta's for. Anyway, I'm not at the clubs. I'm not at the strip clubs. You know what I'm saying? But I enjoy life. You know, I'm not going to church 365 days a year, and that's it. When God gave us plains, He gave us mountains and oceans and beaches, and you know what I'm saying? All
Yeah.
the wonderful things about life. I believe that's what it means when it says that Jesus came that we might have life and have it more abundantly. So we can still use the influence that we have as Christians in a positive way and still enjoy life. And unfortunately, in the Pentecostal circles, they just all they want to do is go to church.
Yeah. 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 And it's like I think though if the church retracts, because it's a lot of stuff the church is going to have to retract
And
because
deal with honestly. They really
huh?
gonna have to deal with some stuff honestly.
Yeah, because I was thinking the other day when I grew up, they used to tell women if you wore pants, you're going to hell. And I
Stupid
was
as
thinking
hell.
like how many women like life expired on earth believing they were sinning or wrong because they wanted to wear pants because of false doctrine. And it's
No,
like
it's not false doctrine. That's dumb as hell. That's what it is. Just like they, in Pentecostal circles, you can't drink, you can't do that. The Bible doesn't say that. The Bible doesn't say that. And the comedian rightfully points out Jesus' first miracle was changing water into wine. Now, the religious people dismiss that by saying
right.
that was a part of the time and you needed wine to clear to disinfect your gut and all that stuff. But they was having a party. And matter of fact, they was turned up so much they ran out of liquor. And Jesus' mama came to him and said, "Son, what you gonna do?" Now, I'm not advocating liquor or wine.
Right, right, right,
People don't
right,
have
right.
a problem with it. I'm just saying religious rules sometimes to me are dumb as hell, you know? And they want you to marry these women in the church. They have no personality. They're ugly. They don't know how, when I was married before I
Boy,
married,
you are gonna go down.
listen, I ain't marrying nobody ugly, and I ain't marrying nobody that ain't got no personality. You talk about marriage, you got to be married to them for the rest of your life. Who wants to be? You know what I tell people about that? My got to get hard. You know what I'm saying? So why would I marry somebody I'm not attracted to just because they saved? Salvation. He beautifies the meek with salvation, but he gonna have to give me somebody fine. That's what the Lord gonna have to do with me. He gonna have to give me somebody fine.
You don't
And
call
that love the Lord. You know what I'm saying?
you call the women in the church ugly. You
I didn't
going
say all of them was ugly. I'm just saying the great propensity of people that actually go to church and love God ain't cute. These cute girls got too many distractions, and the church don't have an answer for it.
so
A lot of time,
how do you think the church can change that?
by
Change
being real,
being
by
real.
being real.
Well, they're
And,
forced to be real now. They're being forced because the world is bringing them things that you can't sugarcoat anymore. You have to like acknowledge it and deal with it. So they're having to be a little bit realer than what they've been in the past. I'll say that. They're not completely woke yet, but they
and
waking
God
up.
is exposing the weaknesses in the church.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I feel like the church has to do a better job is just being more relational. You know what I'm saying? You think about it over the years, and I mean, even going back to my childhood when church was popular, I grew up at a time when it was fun to go to church. All your friends went to church and sang in the choir, and that was the time I grew up in, and now it's completely different.
Yeah.
But what we have to learn how to do is we have to just learn how to be relational. Going back in the day, and even to now, it's people want to invite people to come. That's people's way of witnessing. is inviting them to come to church. Well, guess what? Everybody ain't coming to church. Some people don't want to have nothing to do with church. And be very honest with you, I think that's okay. Some people don't want to be Christians.
Yeah.
I can't say whether or not I think that's okay because they might kick me out of the church if I answer that question. But the point that I'm trying to make is just be relational. And, you don't have to win everybody. The Bible says some plant, some water, but it's God that gives the increase. And I think too many times we as Christians, we as people who love God, we want to see somebody change so much that we're not willing to let God do the work that he wants to do in their life. We want them to come to church and instantly want the women to stop wearing pants and start wearing long dresses. That's stupid. Let God change within people what he wants to change, and realize that some things that are within people that the church doesn't agree with ain't gonna change.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Yeah. So, Patrick, when life expires for you here on earth, what is it that you want people to remember about you? Like, what is it that you believe people will, in 10 years after you've, expired, they will say about you?
Patrick made us smile. He made us think. He made us laugh. And he was always trying to have fun.
I love that. Love that. And I think you're doing an exceptional job because, like I said, man, I just know you through your IG page, and that energy, like it comes through. So I mean, from what I can see, you're doing an amazing job. So, how can they connect with you other than TikTok and IG? I mean, is that where you want people to go follow you if they want to talk to you, book you to be on their podcast?
IG and TikTok is where it's at. More so IG. I think, I won't give you my opinion of Facebook. I think Facebook is filled with people that are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
The ugly church women.
They all on Facebook, Doc. All the fine chicks is on IG.
Boy, you are going down, buddy. You going down. Oh
Okay,
my God.
You know what? I'm still gonna do me. So it's all good.
This has been real. Before everybody log out tonight, please go and click on like, and then not only like, go on IG and TikTok and follow Patrick. Like I say, he places good content out there. It's always some way he's going to make you smile or brighten up your day. Just scrolling, you'll see one of his pictures and you can feel his energy. So go follow him on TikTok, where he said preferably IG. So follow him on IG. And then also just a reminder, if you want to catch this podcast again on the go, it's on Apple Podcasts. You can find it there, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and TikTok. And Patrick, thank you so much for coming on here tonight, man.
My
This
pleasure.
has been amazing. This has been
My
amazing.
pleasure. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yes, sir. And everyone, we will see you next week. The guy for next week, he's similar to Patrick a little bit. He got divorced in his 40s, and he decided that for 19 months, he was not going to date or have sex. So we'll be talking about his journey. Patrick's eyes went up when I said that. So yeah, y'all tune in next Monday at 7 p.m. for the season finale. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Peace.